and this is Auntie, and I am coming to you with a review of 90 Day Fiance. If tonight's show had to be rated on a scale from 1 to 10, I will rank it at an 8. A letter grade, I probably will give it a B+. It was a good episode. It had a lot going on in it. And we're going to go ahead on to get started. For all of you all, if this is your first time being here, please like, comment, and subscribe to my channel. Only if you think that this works for you. If not, just continue to keep looking at Auntie's videos. I ain't going to take them down. But if you don't join the family, I don't know what's wrong with you. All who have been here from the very beginning, thank you all for your support. And to all my new subscribers, thank you so much for subscribing to Auntie's channel. And I hope that we will have a long relationship. So anyway, let's get started. My country, 'tis of thee, sweet land of liberty, of thee I sing. Land where my fathers died, land of the Pilgrim's pride, from every mountainside, let freedom ring. From every mountainside, let freedom ring. Ring, ring, ring. Go ahead on and start this review now. America is a wonderful and a beautiful country, and when we look at this 90 Day Fiance, I have to continue to remind myself that it is not indicative of all Americans. We are the home of the free, the brave, and we have come a long way as a country. And for people to want to basically do anything to be here speaks a lot about America. Yes, we have our faults, but for the most part, this is a wonderful, beautiful country full of opportunity and freedom. All you have to do is believe. And you can do anything that you want to do. So with Pedro and his family discussing being disrespected by Danielle and her family. You know, if my daughter had brought a gentleman home and he had looked at the conditions of my home and his family thought that, you know, they didn't want to come into my home, I think that it would not only be a sign of disrespect to myself, but also to my daughter. I don't believe that the family handled this situation in the best light. And Pedro and his family come from, you know, a modest means. Basically, his grandmother lives basically in poverty for our standards. So with Pedro and his mom and his sister talking about the disrespect that they felt by Chantel and her family. And, you know, the family may not have handled this correctly. Hindsight is 20/20, and looking at everything that has taken place, if my daughter had brought a gentleman to the house to meet me and his family, and because they thought that we were not living up to their standards, that they were fearful to come into my house, I think that it would affect not only myself but my daughter. And there is a huge cultural difference between all these families. Chantel now believes that her family, that Pedro was here for the green card, And so she's really struggling with the love that she feels for him. Pedro says that Chantel has to make a decision between him and his family. And I think that, you know, if this was something that happened to me, my daughter would have to have her fiance or boyfriend or husband or whoever make a decision as well to come to my home, and because my home is not up to standard or what you're used to, you know, to be so disrespectful, to not even get out of the car and then to make an excuse for not getting out of the car. It's just, it really is utterly disrespectful. Although Pedro and his mother have not been the best host, they had all agreed that they would put that aside and that they would move forward. And it just seems like their family hasn't. Pedro's sister has a whole lot of mouth. She's very disrespectful and ornery. And her and the mother, you know, collab together in this effort to prove to Chantel, that it's his job to take care of them. Culturally, it may be his job to take care of them in the Dominican Republic, but right now he's in the United States. And so he should act accordingly. In the United States, our culture is that a man leave his mother and father and cleave unto his wife, forsaking all others. And so this is something that Pedro has not decided to do, and he doesn't want to do. He believes that it's his problem. He's, you know, from the DR, and it's his problem to take care of his mom and dad, but he doesn't realize that he is taking money out of his household. Chantel says that she has not talked to Pedro and hopes that her suspicions of him moving to the United States to have a better life, to make more income, and send it back to his mom and his sister is false. And at this point, you know, she has the influence of her parents. One thing I noticed about Chantel that has been very unfortunate for everybody is that she did not do her homework. She did not do her due diligence. She should have known where Pedro was coming from. But sometimes when you get so surrounded by the dick and by the good looks and the curly hair and the light-skinnedness of Pedro, you don't make the best decisions. She should have known where his grandmother lived. She should have already met the grandmother, and she should have forewarned her family. Had she not tried to be slick and deceive everybody and tell them that he was over here on some type of school or student voucher or program, then none of this would have happened. They are doing everything in reverse order. The family is finding out about Pedro, and she's already married to him. To go to the DR and have a marriage is a sham any damn way, because at this point you're already married. So why go over to the DR, causes all this confusion between the families, and then expect everybody to get along? The next thing we see is Alex's mom going back home. And, you know, he's helping her with her suitcase. And she tells Lauren, you know, let's sit down and let's talk. She tells Lauren, thank you so much for being a wonderful host and everything. And then when Alexa goes to interpret it to her, he says, well, she said thank you to both of us being a good host. No, the hell she didn't. She said it to him, to her. She said it to him to say to her. And she was talking to her. One thing I notice about him is when he interprets what somebody is saying, he interprets it the way he wants to interpret it. Say what the hell the mother said. She said, Lauren, thank you for being a wonderful host. She didn't say nothing about you. Anyway, so we see them driving to the airport and everything. And, you know, but she's in the back of the car. The mom is in the front with Alex. And, you know, she's trying to talk to the mother, and she's using all this, you know, ignorant ass sign language. And I'm thinking, you know, maybe she's saying Sung Young or Moon or Star or the Horizon or something. Like, it's just like a badass game of charades. And I just think that, you know, basically, Lauren is just really trying too hard. I mean, boo, you know, if you don't know sign language, don't sit up there and act like you do. And you really don't. Okay, so anyway, Alex goes on to say that he's basically going to be meeting with the dad after this is over. He's going back to reality. He's meeting with him about this Tourette situation and why the hell he deceived him and told him that it wasn't the next thing we see is Danielle with her dumbass self. She is on her way to Tom's house. Tom, as we know, has been an advocate for Mohamed. When Mohamed initially left Danielle, he was staying with Tom. Tom confronted him. You know what I'm saying? I don't know what Tom is, and I don't want to come out here and be bashing anybody, but he just seems like he's one of those guys that's, you know, millie whopping into any and everybody's life, including Mohammed's. He probably wanted a little bit of ass from Mohamed himself. Ain't no telling what kind of guy this is. But anyway, Danielle goes to the house because she wants to, you know, try to get him to write an affidavit against Mohamed. You dumb ass, Danielle. Why would you go to Tom's house of all people? Tom is the one who initially told you last season to drop the annulment and do the divorce. He basically cussed you out, blackmailed you, and held your ass hostage the last time on behalf of Mohamed to get you to drop everything with your dumb ass self. You know what? Not only does your booty stink and smell like fish and crab cake and a little bit of shrimp, you know what I'm saying, a shrimp kebab sticking up on some skewers with a couple of pineapples and green peppers on the side. You understand what I'm saying? Up on the skew and everything. You know what I'm saying? Frying on the grill. And you just a dumbass to me. You just so ignorant and you just don't have your stuff together. But anyway, y'all, I got the woos off. She sits there and she gives Tom these text messages about Mohamed and tells him that, you know, Mohamed is cheating and all this kind of stuff. Tom is like, that ain't proof. Who's to say that that's Mohamed? Now, Tom know damn well it's Mohamed, but he's like, it's not proof. And basically, it isn't. Unless that those text messages has all the phone numbers on it and a picture of his ass with all the words, you cannot prove that, Danielle, with your dumb self. She's like, you know, well, you know, he's been on social media telling all kinds of lies about me. And Tom said, well, you've been on social media too. That's the problem now. That's why y'all marriage didn't work. And she's like, that is not why our marriage didn't work. Our marriage didn't work because of Mohamed. Mohamed's been cheating and having sex. He's been having sex with somebody. Danielle, are you serious? Just because he's not having sex with you does not mean that he is having sex with somebody else. I totally agree with Tom on that. Now, Mohamed has been seen back and forth with different women, but guess what? At the end of the day, his dick is his dick. Your stinky fish pussy is yours. I'm sorry, I don't mean to be... Parental discretion advised. Time out. Okay. Because I'm so tired of Danielle, y'all. I'm trying to tell you. I got to say, Auntie, slow down. So Danielle sits up there and she argues back and forth with him about it. And she's like, well, whose side are you on? So Tom is like, I'm neutral. But I tell you what, this is a waste of time. You filing for what? An annulment or a divorce? An annulment. Tom tells her basically what you need to do. This is a time waster, and you need to be spending more time taking care of your kids. That was it for Danielle's ass. She gets up. She is mad now. She runs out the house with her crying ass. Y'all know she was crying for the 110th billion times. She's outside. I hate Mohamed. You love Mohamed. You love Mohamed's dirty drawers. You want Mohamed back so bad, Danielle, you don't know what to do with yourself. You have just about gone to your car and fucking lost consciousness because that's how bad you want to be with Mohamed. Girl, you are so... Get yourself together. You're going to accuse Tom of saying you were a bad mother. That is not what Tom accused you of. Tom said spend more time taking care of them. And you're saying me running behind Mohamed is taking care of them because he hurt them too. No, you hurt them. You are the mother. You opened up the door for Mohamed to come in. Mohamed and any other man that you think would screw you with your fish cake booty. Danielle was when she was accusing Mohamed or something, she was accusing him of messing with some woman in New York. I don't even know who the hell the woman in New York was. Evidently, she must have decided that she wasn't going to allow the cameras to be in her home and to be in her life. Shout out to you, New York. Shout out to you. Okay. Danielle gets in the car. She's crying. She's having a meltdown. She's telling us how much she hates Mohamed and all of this kind of stuff. She hates Mohamed because she says that Mohamed has the ability to make people believe him. I thought that that was really profound, because you have the inability to make people believe you. Because when you cry, you make yourself look weak. And then you sit there and you do vindictive stuff. Because Danielle, we have watched you. And we've watched Mohamed. Now, Danielle, that's not to say that Mohamed is not a dog. And that Mohamed is not here for the green card. And that Mohamed probably is screwing everybody. But guess what? It's going to be your fish cake booty. Okay? Against his wiry penis. Moving right along. Now we see Russ. Russ is sitting in the house with Paola, telling her that he has a job interview. Unable to face reality. The reality is that his wife is never going to leave Miami. And that if he doesn't do what he's supposed to do, she's out. She's already been so much admitted out of her mouth that if he does not get a job in Miami and stay in Miami, their marriage is over. Point blank into the period. Now, what I don't like about what she did was she wasn't real with him when she married him. She knew that she had dreams to be bigger and better than what she was. She knew she wanted to be a sexy ass model. She knew that she was not going to be able to do that in Oklahoma, although she did try with her Daisy Duke drawers on. This marriage is not going to work out because they're on two different pages. You got a city girl against a country boy. The likelihood of that working with them, I ain't talking about everybody else, with them, is slim to zero. Now we go back to Anfisa. Anfisa is, lonely. She's been away from George now for 2 weeks, and she's like, I don't know nobody here. Well, you knew the girl at the restaurant, Anfisa, but anyway. So she calls her grandmother, and she talks to her grandmother about living in the United States. And she says that if her grandmother knew that she was separated from George, that the grandmother would make her come back to Russia, and she feels homesick. So she decides not to tell the grandmother that her and George are not together anymore. Chantel, next we see Chantel. She can't reach Pedro on the phone. She's calling him. She's at the hotel. He says that his damn phone was dead. Whatever. Then he meets with his boys, right? Because it's his bachelor party. And so he starts telling his boys about what's going on between him and Chantel, and about how the family came to his grandmother's house and didn't get out of the van. And they asking him, well, what's happening? He's like, she's mad because I'm sending home things to my mother. And they like, that's part of our culture, man. You take care of your mother. And then on the other hand, when he starts really delving into the business, and telling them that, basically he doesn't know if it's even going to be a wedding or not, that's when the brothers is like, wait a minute, hold up. What? Ain't no wedding? Ain't no wedding? Ain't y'all paying for all the alcohol and the food? Oh, hell no. We having a wedding. Man, you need to call your wife on the phone. They were just telling him, basically, Pedro, this is your wife. You got to fight for this. If you love her, love has challenges. Marriage has challenges, and you really need to fight for your relationship. So that next thing you know, he's like, well, my phone did or whatever. They was like, shh. Telephones started flying from everywhere. Telephones was flying. You know what I'm saying? They was, dropping out the ceiling. They was, okay? Telephones. He goes outside. He takes his boy's phone. He calls her on the phone. She picks up on the first ring, desperate as hell, at the hotel, lonely than a mug. And she's like, where you at? What's going on, Pedro? And he's like, what's going on? She's like, come to the hotel. I know it's your bachelor's party and everything. Go ahead and do what you're going to do. But come to the hotel so that we can talk. We need to really talk and see whether or not we're going to get married or not. Pedro's whole thing is, you know what, you disrespected my family. And at the end of the day, Chantel, you did. You disrespected the family. You and your mother now. You should have just you should have just told the truth. God damn. Now we see Lauren. She sits on the bed and she tells Alex that, you know, she has to go to Washington, D.C. to do a speech on Tourette's. She wants him to go. He was like, I can't take off work like that, short notice. Now all of a sudden you the spokesperson for Tourette's. Here we see is George. He's meeting with one of his homeboys, Ramon. Now that George is not with Danielle, Anfisa, he wants to meet with everybody and reunited, and it feels so good. Reunited. George, sit down, baby. Read a little book, baby. It's over, baby. With your friends and your family, because it's soon as Anfisa called you, you're going back. So why bother everybody else? Because you're lonely now. You should have thought about all of that before you was a wimpy kid. No, I'm not talking about the movie. I'm talking about what George did when he was sitting with Lord as his sister, and he wouldn't defend Anfisa. You're so weak, you get on my nerve. God damn, you get on my nerve, boy, with your wimpy ass self. Oh, please help Auntie out. Anyway, he says he felt like he was in jail, like he had an ankle bracelet on. George, you don't know anything about jail. How in the world you gonna tell him you felt like that you was in jail? Bitch, you want to go back. You want your 1 meal a day, and you want your 1 hour out there on the field, in the yard with all the other prisoners. Because the minute that Anfisa lifts up the gates, opens up, you're going to be right back. Stop bull crapping everybody. Stop it, George, already. You missed that girl to death and you want her back. And now you running back to everybody that you have put off for 2 years. Dude said he ain't talked to you in 2 years. George, sit your fat ass down. Oh, I said sit your fat ass down. So the next person we see is Chantel. She feels like her family and his family, Pedro's family, have grown further apart as a result of this vacation. I'm afraid you're right, because now they are seeing all the stuff and doing the homework for you. Her family feels like the family conspired, the mom conspired to have Pedro fall in love or fake like he's falling in love with Chantel, move to the United States so that they could have a better life. And she's now starting to lean in that direction. Boo, that's because you ain't do your homework. Anyway, I digress. So Pedro comes to the hotel. He's talking with Chantel about everything. An argument ensues because she's being disrespectful. She tells Pedro, you know, basically, I feel like your family had you marry me and conspired with you to marry me just so that they could have a better life, because I'm living in a daggone kitchen. I'm sleeping in the kitchen and they got a 3-bedroom apartment. Is it your intention, Pedro, to come back and be with them since they got 3 bedrooms? Is that bedroom really for you? And so Pedro was like, you know, you just was disrespectful to my family. You know, they just not communicating. Pedro's like, you was disrespectful to my family. I don't need the green card. He takes the green card and he throws it on the bed. I'd have snatched that mother up so daggone fast, and I would have been up out of, I'm trying to tell you, I would have been up out of there, me and my family. We would have found a way to lounge around the pool and duck him the whole entire time he was in the DR. Would have took that green card, ripped that stuff up, and he wouldn't have been able to come to the United States. But you know what he does? He uses reverse psychology, because he's calling her bluff. He knows how desperate she is. And so he says, you know what, well, maybe you need another husband. I can stay here in the DR and you can go back to the United States. All of a sudden now, you know, she wants to be soft and she wants to talk about everything. She wants to believe that, you know, she wants to believe that he really loves her. But she's having a problem with it because she didn't do her homework. And her parents are now doing all the essays and writing all of her thesis for college and all of that kind of stuff. See, they're doing all of that stuff for her now. Her thesis on this relationship. So now we see Russ. He comes home. He's got the job and all of that kind of stuff. And again, she's like, he's such a negative guy. Even though he has the job, he's still talking about he's making half as much as he did. What do you think? You're not working in a profession that you're used to working in. There is no oil to be had in Miami unless you're talking about suntan oil or something like that. But other than that, there is no oil. So yes, you're going to have to compromise anytime you move to another state. Unless somebody's sponsoring you there, you're going to make less. And the cost of living in Miami is higher. But you know what? You're running behind your wife. If you think that's the right thing to do, stop crying and bitching all the time, Russ. Just do what you got to do. God dang. The girl wants to be a super sex XL model. Let her do what she's going to do. You brought her over here thinking that you was going to have her in cowboy boots, and she was like, hell, I'm not, still not being with George. And Anfisa decides, you know what, I'm going to get my lips pumped up. Okay. She says George is the one that drive her around. He ain't home. She gonna, you know, take her little car. So I don't know if she called it a Uber, a Lyft, or whatever she called. But she got to that doctor. When she gets there, he looks at her. He can already tell you done had a lot of work done. God damn. He's like, you know, when was the last time you had your lips done? Them joints look a little deflated. She was like, hey, bro. I had him done an eyebrow. You know, so basically the producers is like, whatever kind of work did you have done, Anfisa? She says none. They like, oh, you don't want to talk about it. She's like, hell to the no. Because I want everybody to think that this body that I got was heaven sent from above. Okay, Anfisa. That's what we think. So he tells her, you know, you got crow eyes right here. You know what I'm saying? You got a couple of bear claws up here in the top. And we need to, you know, like lift your eyebrows and all that kind of stuff up. So I know you had intended on coming here and spending about $1,000. But by the time you walk your ass up out of here, you're going to be spending about $7,000. So Anfisa was like, well, you know, I don't need all that stuff done. I just need, you know, I'll go here and get you to do my eyebrows and do my lips and all that kind of stuff. But, you know, the rest of it, I'm just, you know, genuinely pretty. And the doctor looked at her like that. Okay. Your ass will be back. So anyway, she gets, you know, her little Botox and everything. She's never had Botox before. But the thing about it was she had a big ass, you know, bear claw pimple on the top of her head already. So when he stuck the needle in and he said it was some bruising or whatever, I was like, where? Up and behind that pimple? She need to put something up on that joint, some Clearasil or something, Noxzema or something, some Pond, some Dove. I don't know what the hell, but Anfisa, you know, I guess you ain't getting that from George and the skin's starting to break out. You better call George. Girl, you better call George. Call. Okay. So anyway, you know, she rolls on out and she gets in the thing and she's talking about how much, you know, this is taken out of her savings and her savings ain't gonna last her but so long. But she was like, I don't care if my savings run out or nothing. It's George's job to take care of me. He brought me over here in the basket, gonna do that. And she was like, so, you know, I'm gonna go ahead and spend my money and everything. And then, you know, once that run dry, I'm gonna call him and, you know, try to, you know, go back to Chantel. Chantel is questioning her marriage to Pedro. She wants to be, you know, his first priority. Pedro says, you know, he loves her and Chantel wants him to talk to her dad. And Pedro was like, I don't want to talk to her dad because you know what? They were disrespectful to my family. But I'm going to go ahead on and do it because I love her. Next thing we see is they skip on to the loo, my darling, and they leave his wife's ass 24 hours a day. He is so insecure. God dang, he is such a pack of head. So she's taking these shoots, because remember they had told her that she, you know, wasn't sexy enough. So these shoots that she takes with some photographer, famous photographer in Miami. She's basically butterball naked as far as I'm concerned. Russ don't like it at all. But he's powerless to do anything about it. So she's taking these pictures. The photographer has a wife who is the makeup artist. And so the question is asked, well, you know, how do you deal with it? She was like, you know, a lot of people ask me, how do I deal with my husband taking these pictures of these beautiful women? It doesn't bother me. She's liberal. She's been here. She's been in Miami. She know the game. Russ don't know the game. So Russ is like, I don't want you naked. So basically what she does is she's naked. She takes a picture in a bathing suit. She's standing up on a stool across in somebody's damn front lawn. And she's taking pictures up in the, you know, her butt cheeks is out. Look like she got a little bit of cellulite on it. I mean, I ain't judging nobody. I'm just saying she's just not that unusually beautiful. She's not like a woman that would just capture you at first glance. I mean, there's a lot of stuff that this guy's doing. I'm sure he's going to be touching up the pictures. She's just an average girl to me. I mean, she's beautiful. Don't get it twisted. But when you go and you see these exotic women, these beautiful women, she just ain't cutting the mustard. Anytime they're going to tell you to dye your hair, to make yourself be more appealing to the audience, you ain't got it, but you got to work too hard. She takes another shoot, you know, where she's in this black lingerie, where he said that, you know, Russ said basically they had already made a decision that she wouldn't do that. And he's telling her to squeeze her breasts together and do all this kind of stuff to make them look bigger and all of that. If you got to do that when you walk up on the set, boo, I'm trying to tell you, when you walk on the set and they looking for them big jugs and you ain't got the jugs, they going to send you and your little pony juices and your pony water right back on out the door, because they looking for jugs. They not looking for that. He tells her to bend her back over, you know what I'm saying? You know, give him some of that butt. All this stuff you doing and you making up. At the end of the day, you got to come in and you got to produce what you are putting in these photos. And you just lying and faking people out. That ain't going to work out too much longer, baby. Because Americans, we fickle. We'll put you down and put you up. That's what we do. We see Chantel friends come in from the U.S. They coming in for the wedding. It's a black couple. And, you know, she's like, I'm glad they're a third party. So she starts telling them in a restaurant what's going on. And they devastated. They are devastated. They're like, okay, well, you're supposed to be going to the resort. You're supposed to be having this wedding. What's going on? Chantel is just crying and boo-hooing. She's talking about if the family doesn't come, because Pedro had already said earlier that his family wasn't coming. And she tells them, you know, if the family don't come, ain't no need of us having no wedding. You goddamn skippy about that. It ain't no need of you having no wedding anyway. You already complaining about money. And the money that you spent to come over there to have a wedding is the money you could have used to get out the damn kitchen sleeping. I don't understand you saying that Pedro's priorities are off. So are yours, Chantel. Yours ain't no better than his. You go out there and commit yourself to buying a $3,000-4,000 wedding ring, but you living in the kitchen. You going over to the DR to get married. Your ass already married. You had a marriage under a daggone gazebo. Why do you have to do all this? See, you fronting too. You fronting like you got it like that. You don't have it like that, but then you want to be moaning and bitching and complaining about Pedro. Pedro says she's still in school. Wait a minute, I'm going ahead of myself. She tells Pedro, in order for us to get married, you need to go and meet with my parents, my father. So the father and the brother come to the restaurant together, and they have a conversation with Pedro. The father's talking about all these conspiracy theories that he thinks that the mother's in, and that she should be living better with him than she was. She already had a car, she already had a house, and she was going to school. So Pedro was like, so are you saying that it's no need for us to be together? Are you saying that she was living better than she is with me? So Pedro is basically making money. You know what I'm saying? I don't know where Pedro working at, but he making the money. He said, so is that what you saying, Dad? And the dad is like, yeah, she living in the kitchen while your mother and them living in a 3-bedroom home. Why are you comparing it to that? Pedro was saying, you know what, we had already made plans for 2 to 3 years after she finished school to go to get a house. And the father's like, well, you know what, in 3 years, he'll be an American citizen. So you know what, he already got a plan. Damn, Dad, he ain't think that far ahead. Yeah, I mean, really, he didn't think that far ahead. And you didn't have, Dad, at the time, enough influence on your daughter to talk your daughter out of the marriage. You let your daughter do all of this, and now on the backside, after they already married, now you want to talk about conspiracy theories? Come on, Dad, it's a little bit too late. I don't want to disrespect you out here on this daggone review, but Dad, it's too little, too late. And then when Pedro was raising his voice at the dad, the brother gonna sit up there and say, man, you need to be respectful. Bitch, how you gonna tell somebody to be respectful when you wouldn't even get out the van? And Pedro was like, you didn't respect my mother, you disrespected my mother. And Pedro, I agree with you on that. I don't agree with you on that too much, but I agree with you on that. How the hell the pot gonna call the kettle black? And you gonna sit up here and tell him to have respect for your father when your father didn't have respect for his grandmother or any of his other family members. Y'all need to, you know what, bye. 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 So we see George with his sorry ass sitting down with his mother. It's been 30 days now, and him and Anfisa still ain't back together. So he's sitting with his mother, who he's neglected. Mother look, oh, she crying and everything, talking about, you know, how George hasn't been around, how he's changed since he's been married to this girl and all this. So George's like, I apologize. I feel so locked and caged in, and I just feel like, you know, I just can't sing anymore, and I'm just going to die, and I can't breathe, you know what I'm saying? And I'm just like, George, you so fakey, you so phony. If I was George's sister, I would have to cut George off. I would have to teach him tough love. You may not agree with it, that's on you, but don't come back to me when stuff is not happening. That stuff is a lot of pressure, and it's a lot of hurt on the family, because everybody already automatically knows that when Anfisa comes back, George ass is back out of there again. I'm sorry, y'all, that's just how I see it, and that's just how it is. He's a sorry Lord, as his sister asks him, so have you reached out to Anfisa? When you gonna reach out to Anfisa? Already did. I'm gonna buy her a gift, because I want her to like me again. I want her to be alright, so I know if I buy her something materialistic, she'll take me back. And the sister was like, I wouldn't buy her a gift. And the mother was like, buy her a Bible. They've already lost George, and they understand that. They understand that he's a desperado, that he wants Anfisa more than he wants to breathe, more than he wants a cheeseburger or a hot dog. That's how bad he wants Anfisa. And at this point, let him have him. The next thing we see is, you know, Mohamed meeting with his lawyer. Mohamed said he gonna go in there to this annulment hearing, he gonna represent his damn self. He said, because who can do better than that? He said the lawyer calls too much. The lawyer's trying to talk to Mohamed. He's uptight and everything. He tells him, you know, in the United States, when you're sitting there, you have to have. So Mohamed is basically a ticking time bomb. The lawyer is telling Mohamed, you can't go in there and be angry, because if you go in there and be angry, and what Danielle has as a defense proves or says that you're an angry man, and you show that, then you have told the judge that you are who Danielle is saying you are. And Mohamed is like, I don't give a rat's ass. She's done a lot of stuff, and I'm going in there. I'm in fear for my life. Basically, no judge cares about you being in fear for your life. I don't know if Mohamed is still here. I don't go on social media and look for him. But the lawyer is very concerned. And he's like, I'm afraid if he goes in to that courthouse tomorrow and he says what he says is saying right now, that he is going back home to Tibet. So let me tell y'all something. Again, this was a good episode. The plot is getting thicker and thicker, and the couples are just out of control. This 90-day K1 visa, if you're thinking about doing that, think long and hard about it, because once you get their asses over here and you marry them, it's hard to get them out. If that's what if their intention was just to come over here to get the green card, it's hard to get them out. And I've heard stories on YouTube and on television and in movies about people whose sole purpose was to come over and get the green card. America the Beautiful is a place where a lot of people want to be. They see opportunity. This is the land of the free. We do have certain freedoms that other countries don't enjoy, and they don't have. Things that we take for granted, they fight for every day and die. So thank you so much for looking at my review. Again, please like, comment, and subscribe to your auntie's channel. I thank you all so much, and have a wonderful day. Bye-bye.